Well, hello everyone. Matt from soundrolling.com. Seems to be the intro. I have a terrible laptop. This is a terrible stream. I look like I'm a hostage. I've got a slight beard. Felt compelled to do a video. Just been watching Michael Wynn, who has an incredible setup for live. So you should check out his channel. Realized I haven't done a video in 10 months. That is semi deliberate. But I just thought more for myself, in case literally no one watches this, I would just document what I've been up to. So 10 months is a long time. Firstly, obviously COVID. I mean, that's a little bit awkward. But since 10 months ago, what was I doing? Giving career and networking advice. Basically, me and my wife set up a business a couple of years ago, and I've just been cracking with that. Really realized I'm really good at business. I never really wanted to, couldn't find a way to make it work with sound. I'm not technical to like make stuff, and working with other people was long, and just making content for other people wasn't as exciting as just being my wacky, crazy self. So, as well as doing a million other things. So entrepreneurship was perfect because I get to do a million things all at the same time. So that's going very well. One's in medical stuff, which is obviously becoming quite popular due to the situation, even though I started it 2 years ago before it was trendy. And hey, from Reykjavik. I'd love to go to Reykjavik. I know a few people from there actually, but I've never had the chance to go yet. Probably not until next year now, right? So yeah, this is a bit of a weird one, really. I thought this was going to be more of like a reflection piece on not posting so many videos or whatever, but actually, the more I thought about it, the more I thought that people should take exactly what I've done and do it for themselves. Quite a few people have since I started doing this, which is amazing, and they're taking it like so much further, which is ridiculous. But it's definitely one of the fastest ways to learn is when you are actually trying to showcase what you're doing and where you are. And you'll find as well that when you look back at videos that are even like a couple of months old, a couple of years old, that time flies. And I know everyone's been in lockdown in some fashion probably around the world. Hopefully all staying safe and well. And yeah, so it's a bit of a reflection piece really, but wanted to also field any questions, comments people had. I know people are jumping on and off or whatever. But if you have any other questions about sound career, anything I can try and help with, then I will gladly help. So yeah, but I haven't really been doing anything. So the funny thing is that even though I've not been doing anything with my kind of brand of sound rolling, because I was so consistent for such a long time, for instance, I still get 30,000 views a month on YouTube for the 700 videos I have. So that's good. And let's see if I can pull out anything that's kind of interesting, I guess, from recent comments over the past how long. A lot to do for sound recordists in Iceland right now because of COVID. Interesting. So you're still getting news. I kind of found over here. Yeah, so just fly over. Yeah, maybe I will actually. Yeah, I kind of found loads of people. There was just a hilarious trend in news in general of people doing it themselves. And definitely the worst thing to go would be the sound. They always had like drone operators, and they always had like loads of fancy tech. And then all the sound would die even before the video would die. So it really shows that there's a kind of lack of, still a lack of investment in 50% of the experience. Let's see if I can find some comments or like questions, or like feel free to ask me some. But yeah, but my main thing for getting back on here was both to say that as a career, it's been very interesting for me, like figuring out where to go and actually realizing and just having a bit of self-awareness about what I liked most about sound recording. I'm still doing stuff, even though I haven't posted about it, which felt very weird, definitely for the first like couple of months, especially when I stopped posting on Instagram and things like that. And again, now all these social dilemma, like Netflix things are like documentaries are coming out about all this stuff of people just feeling loads of pressure. But it doesn't have to be that way, guys. You can, you're in control. So I'm going to run through some comments and then tag these people. So I wish SD, so this is actually from 2 days ago. I wish that SD would make something like the 442, but smaller and with only 3 channels. Then you could hook it up to the line inputs for the 633 for more fully functioning preamps. This is in response to the 302 video. The 302 is still ridiculously expensive, I would say, for even what it is. So I would definitely, Michael Hill, get involved in just getting a 6. Was it the 666? No, the devil one. It's the 688, isn't it? I think you just go with the 688. I still have the 688. Oh, I have the 688. Yeah, I forget what the new ones are. 888 is the new one. So the 668 is probably where you want to go. And to be honest, I use that still for feature stuff. I still use that all the time. I probably should have like 12 different sized recorders, depending on the job. But honestly, I had the 664 when it first came out. I had the 688 since it's first come out, and I'm still using that today on all sorts of stuff. I still love it. It's still just the right amount of functionality that I need. I don't think I'm missing too much. But again, I'm not at like a ridiculously high level by any means. Loads of videos, because I did a video ages ago about the 88, the M50Xs, the headphones, versus the DT770s. And loads of people just saying that they hate it, they love it, and everything different in between. I'm still actually using them. Again, maybe I'm wrong on that. I went through a period of just switching listening to different types of headphones. I found I was getting a lot of fatigue from the HD 26s, probably because they were so good, and I was just putting my levels a bit higher than I should, maybe thinking about it. Especially now that I've had time off in lockdown. I don't know if anyone else has found this, but you actually like realize that you can get quite fatigued after a while from all the listening that you're doing. So spending at least, I think it was 2 months not doing anything, like deliberately recording. Yeah, it was very interesting. So let me know in the comments if you're using any other type of what headphones you're using, because again, maybe people will get inspired. Currently still using the M50Xs, but loads of people tell me a million different things. It's just like batteries. Also put in the comments what batteries you're using. Yeah, see, the HD 26 Pros for headphones, they're very good. I probably just need to buy some more, but I think I couldn't on Amazon or something. It's classic like 2020 laziness, so it couldn't come next day. But also batteries. Everyone's going on about ladder, everyone's going on about like IKEA batteries or something, and everyone gets very, very, very into it for very good reasons, because they're doing like crazy like high-end stuff. Where every like millivolt matters to the nth degree. Yeah, Lattice or Enderloop is another brand. I still just use Duracell. The biggest, probably my biggest battery lesson was just on MAH, like the milliamp hours, and realizing that for different types of things, actually lower milliamp hours are really good, and some things high milliamp hours are really good. So yeah, SMQV, the W's as well. Wideband, yeah, not the underwater one. I get it confused with the underwater one. Almost for a full day. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm on still the SMQVs, and yeah, if I put just Duracell 2500s in, they probably do stretch to a day. Probably just short. Again, I go through runs. How long until you replace your batteries, though? That's probably the question. Because I need to have a better system for that. With the MP1s, it's really easy to just write it on. But I kind of find that I need to buy a load of AA batteries to obviously just keep recharging them and use them on different jobs and stuff. But yeah, trying to remember to cycle through enough of them. I should probably come up with a better system for that, just to actually extend the life, because it gets to a point where the actual outer casing of the battery is like falling down, and then you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't want to have like batteries that I can't rely on Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, yeah, that's you pretty much have the same strategy of me. If you just have like 30 or 40, and then you just kind of pick, and you go, well, I'm only using 4 radios today, so I'll just take like 12 batteries just to be sure. Um, so yeah, I keep picking, but then I go through and I buy all at the same time. So once I notice like several batteries, if I'm starting to change like twice a day, then it's the time to start thinking about it. Same with the MP1s. The MP1s, you can get a good like couple of years out of them if you treat them well, using caps and things like that on the end for the actual connectors and things. Um, so so yeah, it's all about buying it in once. But then it's the whole like buy once, cry once, as opposed to keep topping up and messing around. So so what are the questions that I have from it? Yeah, people still comment all the time, which is great. So I would like to know how the sound compares between the two. Does anyone happen to know? And this is the 688 versus the 664. It was, for me, when I got them, there was a crossover point before I was selling the other one, and I got the other one. So the sound for me in terms of the preamps, for what I was using at the time, which was the MK41 Sherps, and probably the Super CMIT I probably got just after that as well. So in terms of sound levels, for me, very like negligible. I only was able to do a test in my home, so it wasn't like I had like loads of time. But yeah, for me, they were both good. For me, it was a natural step up, the 688, because the extra functionalities such as like screen brightness, routing, there was a load of other things that came with it, and obviously then the add-ons as well. Like I have the SL6, which is the rack mount at the top, and I thought that was just perfect. Like less wires, slightly a bit heavier, but for me, I just love it being an all one unit thing. Lots of people asking about my app. My app actually like stopped ages ago. And I'll answer that question in a sec. Yeah, my sound app stopped ages ago. It was really fun to like test it out. I think on my website, which I actually didn't even realize that my like domain had slightly expired for a time, or I needed to pay for it. So now you can actually go, and there's quite a lot of stuff from the app just on my site, so soundrolling.com. And now I think I probably need to fix the navigation of stuff, because I think even the blog is like not linked and it's all terrible. So, and Danny Darker, are the limiters on the sound devices mixed pre to digital, or is it analog? It does Dante and analog, apparently, according to Joy. If I said that right, hopefully I said it right. So yeah, for those just joining in, I'm just reading because I haven't posted a video in 10 months. I'm just going back through my comments and just answering people's questions. Yoy. Yoy. Yo, I. Yoy. Hopefully I got that right. So, how to update your G3? Very good question. I don't actually know how you update a G3. I wish I had one to hand. I'd have to open my case or something. So I will figure that out. Probably do a follow-up video. Who knows? Maybe I'll get back into videoing. It actually feels surprisingly natural. Kind of miss your channel. Yeah, it's not really a channel. It's just me like waffling on as usual. But it is fun. I do like it. Okay, recording level for ambient sound effects libraries. This was a chop up from one of the infamous sound chats that I did. Thanks for being looking for something like this. Now during music recording vocals, the recommended practice is to get to close to minus 12 dB, but I've been interested in doing some recording with nature with my Zoom 5, and there's no way to get close to that. And I've been worrying about preamp noise, but this helps. Yes, definitely. When you're recording nature and things, you can just record it at the level that you would set it in. I think in the mix. I think that makes sense. to some degree, obviously. Like, you don't record an explosion at like plus 24 when you're recording, because you just blow the whole thing up. But in terms of ambience levels, again, if dialogue is kind of like at your minus 20 ish for like VU, and then peaking at minus 12, then you can easily take ambience at minus 30 or minus 40, and then you're not getting so much preamp noise. And then you can always layer, or you can add stuff on extra. So yeah, good to see that my exporting OMF video is still doing well. Loads of people saying that actually helps. I can't believe like people don't do this kind of thing. And I highly recommend, for the people that are just joining on, you should do exactly what I did, because I've had loads of work out of it, and I've learnt loads of stuff. More importantly, it's not that I know everything. I don't actually know anything at all, but I'm more than happy to put myself out there. And everyone's just a little avatar until you meet them in person. So it's definitely more scary to meet people in person than on the internet. So, oh yeah, there was a stereo mic for a GoPro for a shoot I did ages ago. The mic adapter for the GoPro Hero 7. Ooh, it probably is mandatory. Oh, and when they dropped the Scorpio, poor sound on this VidMat. Yeah, it was poor sound. I was at a beach and I was recording on my phone live. Definitely not set up for that. Oh yeah, people. Oh, still. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of skimming through them. So 688 question in regards to a video on the 12 channel toggle mode. They couldn't find tutorials anywhere else. Everyone questioned when I move pre-fade listen, no matter what side, left or right, nothing happens. Interesting. So I can't activate tracks. Okay, could this be happening there? I have 12 channel mode on. So activating tracks is actually from your from the gain switches themselves. So you have gain switches for 1 to 6, and then you have fader gain switches that are on 7 through 12. So once you actually turn them, that's what activates them. And then you should be able, using that mode, to turn it left and right to be able to go into the options. But you have to turn it on first. So just tap it, and whichever side, it'll stay on that menu for that channel. And then on the right, use the little toggle wheel, the encoder, I think they call it, if I remember rightly, to then select any of the settings. Push in, turn up and down to go from SL6 to mic level to whichever level. What are your thoughts on the Sennheiser 8060? Heard loads of great things about it. Had very few chances to use it. But again, loads of people highly rate it. It has a cutoff of 50 hertz, other than cutting the low end in post. Would this be advantageous to be cut at the recording stage? So my thoughts on using low cut filter when you're recording, especially at such a low level that you don't really hear it, is that actually it reduces your overall level on your recorder. So what you'll find is that even though you might be just losing the 80 hertz, I think mine sets on the 688 as default. I just do that in general, pretty much. I'm pretty much just recording. I'm recording dialogue most of the time. So the whole idea is that there's going to be a bass or a bed, hopefully sitting under that. So not a lot I find is missed from 80 hertz, unless someone has like a crazy high register voice or something, and I need to try and get something from somewhere. But generally, I find that it actually lowers the level overall. So then you can be a bit more accurate with your preamps and just levels in general. So I would say that would be the main advantage. And obviously, if you're using the microphone, it's quite sensitive, or there's quite high wind, it's just going to help buffer that even more. If they do need to add more bass, even adding from the 100 hertz range, from the 200 hertz range, is going to be more effective, because the closer you get to that 1K mark, whatever 1 kilohertz is, that is the most accurate representation of like hearing without the frequency change that naturally occurs in your ears. So whatever you hear when you press that tone level is 1K, because that is an actual accurate representation of the level to frequency kind of ratio. And I've done a video about that before somewhere else as well. So, long versus short shotgun. Okay, seems as though you were listening to what you were taught versus actually listening with your ears. The 816 sounded far superior in your indoor test. Well, that might be the case. That's when I had just two microphones, and I was saying more about the interference patterns and why. Well, firstly, it's wildly impractical to use an 816 inside, so you're very rarely going to get that. But the pattern, the interruption pattern, or interference pattern, I should say, is so strong that obviously it makes it really narrow. But when you're in an inside environment, especially if my room was actually a bit more reverberant, then you may have had more artifacts than if you were just in a normal room with kind of wallpaper and stuff, kind of padding things out. So that's probably why the 816 still sounded a lot more clearer to you, because I was pointing them kind of straight at myself. Whereas in reality, it may have sounded better, but it wouldn't have actually made that much of a difference. So the quick blackout solution, which is basically where you wipe water on a window and stick tin foil on it, because it sticks to it naturally and then obviously completely blacks out. I would say do not do it in direct sunlight, and I think I say it in the video, because you'll actually burn. You won't burn it, but you will it'll kind of fuse slightly to the window. So that's what I do say. And I used this trick in Amsterdam. But what you could do is you could cover that again with like a bin bag or something, and then the actual direct light won't melt it on. But it isn't dangerous as such, I don't think. HPV, that's a high pass filter, I would have said. High pass filter in the microphone, pre-mixer and encoder, or is this a linear function and doesn't apply the effect? Not sure quite how to answer that one. More than 10. Okay, someone's looking at that. Loads of like questions. Can you upload a single long form video of the interviews? Yeah, I do actually already have that. There are single videos of all the sound chats, but then lots of people are finding stuff as well. So Justice, so my 788T kind of died on me today. What would you buy to replace it? I think I would buy the 888. Looking at it now, going on the basis of that if the 788 is like the 664 of its day, or the 688 of its day, in terms of functionality, then I would say the 888 is the way to go, because that's more the recorder side. If you were going for more mixer side, then probably the Scorpio, I guess, because the 888, I believe, has more channels. So Charlie, hey, what's your views on moving forward to 32-bit? Is it a move forward for the better? I would assume so, but more for probably musical reasons, I assume, or effects. There's quite a lot of benefits to basically having lots of steps of levels, because at the end of the day, it's almost our bit depth after all, isn't it? So what is it? See if I can remember correctly. But it's something like the difference between 16-bit and 24-bit is like 16,000 steps compared to like 64 million steps. So basically you get finer detail in the volume. I'm not sure quite how that translates to actual like frequencies or overall quality when you're getting like into millions and millions and millions of steps of volume. But I can imagine for actually mixing into theaters and stuff, it is naturally going to be better, especially as speakers and experiences have to become a bit more kind of realistic. And I assume having all of that to play with, if that's then able to be, I assume, replicated on the other end, means that you're going to be able to mix in even more detail. And I think as we move also towards a more virtual VR kind of space, and that's still a long way away in terms of people actually, like, when was the last time you heard anyone be like, oh, I spend 5 minutes a day doing VR? You don't hear anyone say that at the moment. But as kind of technology like that gets further and further in, I think it's just a natural progression. We're still in exponential growth for pretty much everything these days. It's just whether your industry is at one and doubling, or whether it's at loads. Who knows? Rick says, "Hi, I hope you're well from NYC." Well, I hope you're doing well. Here in London, everything's okay, but well, yeah, so far, stupid second waves. Anyway, do you reckon A-weighted EIN in the recorders gets even lower in the future? I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. In the recorders, as in like the weighting of the curve. You might have to explain that. I'm not super scientific, unfortunately, but I do try. Of all the jobs, gigs, films, sound-based work you've ever done, what is the most important thing you've learned? I think I've got my name on my shirt, because obviously when you wear a mask, I was on set today. When you wear your mask, everyone kind of looks the same, even though I have very funky masks, actually. So Charlie, so out of all the stuff I've done, what's the most important thing I've learned? I think the most important thing I've learned, I'll give you, there's a couple of things. I would say, so obviously networking, I guess, but I would say more like action over theory, almost. I would say like learning on the job. In fact, I'll just use that as my number one thing. I would say that doing always beats, well, most of the time beats thinking about it, because then when you're doing it, for me anyway, it's more tactical to think about things. And also to kind of just pick where you're going next, and just have a constant or semi-constant evaluation of where you kind of want things to go. If there's certain things you like doing, it's very easy to then reverse engineer actions to get towards that goal. I've become very much like that way. So from everything to setting up businesses, to even why I started this YouTube channel, just to learn about loads of stuff, to doing the blog, because while I was at uni, I wasn't doing any uni work, which I probably should have been doing, but it turns out it didn't really matter, because I was already coming out with a load of films. And attitude, your mentality. It's a very mental game. Just being in film, you're working with people, you're working with situations that are out of your control, coronavirus, etc., etc. And so it's all about your mentality at the end of the day, and your intent. If you're intending to do good things and bring more value to more people, then more good things will happen to you. And again, I will reiterate for people that have joined later on, that you should do exactly what I've done on this thing that you're watching now. You should be doing this. You should be just having a live video session. You should be like, hey, I'm Rick, I'm Charlie, I'm everyone else on this thing. And you should be like, this is where I'm at right now. And we're going to see where this goes, because you will be surprised that even in that, being accountable to, I don't know, someone else or yourself kind of externally, I think pushes you in a kind of long way. I think personally, I get a lot more done. It's quite hard just to be completely self-motivated in that kind of, I want to better myself. I kind of just want to pick something and then work towards that. I don't necessarily want to just keep going and going and going. Hence now, why I transitioned into business, but still do sound because I love it. But definitely, for instance, taking off, not doing sound design, not doing post anymore. I'm just not really into it. Whereas before I was doing projects the complete way. And though it was all good, I was realizing that the project was basically, was just becoming everything. So it was a bit too much. Rick says, it's been crazy, honestly. Not surprised. Hashtag COVID. Luckily, things are slowly starting to pick up. Yep, things have been slowly dribbling and drabbing through here. There's quite a lot of talk of people doing pencils for kind of end of October, November. So we'll see what happens with that, really. But yeah, but it'll be good to get back. Hopefully, get at least one kind of semi-long narrative piece in by the end of the year. Hoping, and then yeah, just on to next year. So we'll see what's happening with that as well. So people loving the walkthroughs. Oh yeah, the microphones. Okay, if you consider the minis. Okay, so using a supercardioid versus a short shotgun. So this is in response to my long versus short shotgun microphone. But they're planning to do Louis Theroux style documentaries. The mic would be camera mounted or fixed to a clamp for easy moving. So I would say short shotgun because you're not necessarily going to be really close. And the MK41, the polar pattern will be wider. It will be smoother, but in a kind of Louis Theroux point and shoot kind of way. You're going to want that on the top as your background, I would think, unless you have one main person, like if it is Louis Theroux and you have him mic'd and whoever else is talking mic'd, then maybe go for an MK41 just because you're never going to cut back, although he has a sound person booming over the top, but you're never going to cut back to the camera audio. You might just use it to kind of flesh out stuff a bit. Why 48 sample hertz? Someone says that they were the 100th like. People asking if music good. Oh yeah, I always do this thing. So on my G3s or whatever, I keep talking about channel 38, and I realize channel 38 is actually a small portion of the block that they give you. They give you these blocks, and I'm always saying channel 38, but usually I'm in channel 39 or 40. So I apologize for all of that. Technically, only 38 is free, and 38 is the top of 23. Oh, I think it's the top of block 23 in the US. Oh yeah, another. The lightweight harness. So I haven't been using the lightweight harness recently, the Orca one, but I still use the heavier duty one. I have always been weighing up, but it's the same discussion I have. I have a heavier rig, so actually it makes sense to have the more hardcore harness. I think if I had a lighter rig, then I would use then I would use the lightweight harness. Why are your hands shaking so much? Probably because my phone is heavy. Okay. Okay. See, this is really fun. You do like a quick blackout window, and people are like, I get black foam core from a craft store and tape a few pieces together, and you can cut to fit to your window. But it takes longer. That's the thing. Factory resetting the 688, 683, very, very popular video. Took me a while to figure out, which is good. There we go. So I'm basically going back. We're currently up to 4 months ago now, which is fairly good going. Oh yeah, this was all there. So it's okay. Anyway, I've been chatting for a long time, really. Let's see. I really want to buy a coiled XLR cable, like the 6 meter curly one. Yeah. Where can I get one? I would say if you have a local cable person. I used Production Wiring. John Perkins, his name. I think he gets some. So the only downside to curly cable is that if you break it, there's no real way of fixing it. Yeah, you just kind of knacker the whole thing. But they were actually really useful until I knackered it, and then I had some single ones, but definitely for more documentary work or more bag work, a curly cable is good. I'm sure you can probably buy them from some of the boom manufacturers now as well. I wouldn't be surprised, but then again, maybe they're just in the boom game. Who knows? So, I mean, this has actually turned out, yeah, I'm getting the juices back, for being live. So you've got Michael Wynn to thank for that. Been inspiring. Bum bum bum. Ooh, yeah. All right. So I'm just seeing if there's any more last questions. Really, there's loads of stuff. Anytime you review headphones, apparently that's how you get loads of views and anger on the internet. Alex says you can disable the RF to save battery on the UltraSync 1. That's quite good. I personally love I still use the UltraSync ones now over everything else, just because it's so light and it's so easy. And you can have the full bass as well as the unit that's broadcasting out. But actually, I just end up using another UltraSync 1 as a master and then just RF out to all of them. USB-C is super easy to charge them back up with as well. So that is the perfect way to go. Okay, I think 6 months is long enough to go back, and chatting for 36 minutes is probably long enough as well for most people. But yeah, good to get back in the game. Wet the old whistle, or whatever the saying is. Who knows? It sounds very English, so obviously it's very classy. But I hope you guys stay safe. Who knows? I may do another video in 10 months or 2 days or 3 hours. But stay tuned. Comments, questions. Always let me know. You can hit me up on the gram, and I'll probably start posting more content. Maybe all about business now. I don't know. Ambient Logger. I haven't checked out the Ambient Logger, but I did. Were they IBC? I think I interviewed them last year, maybe about it. But I'm going to head off because I will just keep rambling forever and ever and ever, and it will get incredibly boring. But this has been a nice update. So where I am right now, I've got 2 businesses. I've got a baby that's 15 months. We're in the middle of COVID. We're starting to build up traction with stuff. I encourage all of you to set up your own podcast, own thing. Don't think about it. Just post stuff. Just start talking about where you are. You will actually find that you are self-teaching. You find that other people are giving you varying levels of constructive to non-constructive feedback, let's call it, criticism at the very worst. But it's all going to be really good because the key thing is to move fast. All the opportunities are when you move fast, and doing that, you will get really, really far. So even with COVID, you're going to, if you're not careful, you will be surrounded with a lot of people with a lot of negativity, rightly, wrongly, up the debate potentially. It is bad. But if you keep up with a positive attitude, and you keep showing up, and you keep showing in front of people, and you keep just providing value to people, they can't ignore you. They can potentially not like you, but that's probably the worst. Insert Kickstarter. Okay. Oh, Mark Goodenbach takes while on set. Okay. But I thought you could do that on the. I guess you can circle, but that's really annoying. I find it didn't really work on the sound devices. So I will just end with, please, 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 I want everyone to set up their own YouTube and just show their bag or show something or show what they know, because then you'll end up like me, and suddenly there's like 6,000 people like following what you do in a kind of world that is already very, very small. So I feel incredibly humbled that even 100 people still subscribe when I've not posted videos for 10 months. So, dongle. Okay. Right, I'm going to check out. Everyone should check out the Ambient Logger for sure. That's great, Yoy. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to sign off now. Thanks very much for the thumbs up. Again, it means everything now in social media. It's good, but the comments mean even more, and sticking around even more so. So, it's sliding scale. But stay out there, stay positive, and that's pretty much all I got to say, I think. So trying to end bang on 40 minutes. Boom.